Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and today we're going to be having a look at the GFS and the CMWF, as well as the GFS ensembles, and in the second part of the video we're going to be having a look at the shorter range models for tomorrow's very significant Storm Ciara. As you can see on the pressure charts right now, this is Storm Ciara over here as of midday this afternoon. It's developing rapidly along the jet stream, and we'll quickly run through and see what the aftermath will be, so what the weather holds for after Storm Ciara. You see, it rapidly deepens towards the northern Scotland. See those ice bars squeeze together with very strong winds, and we'll show you the second half of the video, but there's likely to be 80 to 90, potentially even 100-mile-an-hour gusts around the Channel and western coastal areas, even 60, 70, maybe the odd 80 further inland. As we run through, the low doesn't move through that quickly, and we remain in a very strong northwesterly and low pressure influence, bringing us westerly to northwesterly winds, with potentially some snow showers moving along there in a cold polar maritime air mass. And another low starts to develop, and we'll have to keep a watch on what happens there. But it looks like it dives through the country and weakens significantly as it comes through. But it's probably bringing through some milder air, so those sort of snow showers start to disappear, and we do start to move in more of a southwesterly feed. But there's some very deep low pressures in there, and again, this is a week out, so we're going to have to keep an eye on, and these could be more named storms potentially. Depending on the exact track, but it's very deep again there. This looks like it's more of a localised storm from northern Scotland, but it still potentially would be named. Very strong winds in northern Scotland and northern England, weaker in the south, however, it's still very low pressure to our north, where there's very strong tropospheric polar vortex and jet stream. As we go towards the end of the run, high pressure starts to build in the Atlantic, and we see quite a potent low pressure system move through the southern island into central parts of England, and moves through to East Anglia. It's not in any cold air, so it wouldn't bring any snow, but that's the track of low pressure you'd need this time of year. If you had a cold air dug in, that would bring a lot of snow if we had some cold air in there, but it doesn't look like there's particularly cold air within that, so it just looks like it would be quite small but very deep and quite sharp little low pressure moving through central England, bringing some very heavy rain and some squally winds. As we end the run, though, high pressure does start to build in over the top of the country. It does start to bring in a southerly wind. However, you can see the high pressure is starting to build up towards Scandinavia. There is a small cold pull to our east, so 384 hours out, we'd start to be bringing in some colder easterly to easterly winds. It's not very cold, but again, we'll have a look at the upper airs in a minute. It does look like it will be pulling in a colder air mass, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. The 850 HPA temperatures, we'll run through this quickly. Very mild air with the storm tomorrow, and then we go into that cold northwesterly air mass, with quite strong winds and some snow showers moving through. Probably snow showers for most of the country, really, but only really settling over the north and over northern western hills. We do get a low pressure system moving there. Moves into very relatively cold air and has cold air behind it, so potentially for some snow further north. But then another low comes tumbling in, bringing a milder sector, so that sweeps through any of the colder air. And we go into very zonal phase again, with colder and milder sectors. We do sort of go into no man's land a little bit there, where we have coolish air, but not very cold, or neither mild. And this is that little feature I talked about. So again, there isn't any cold air in there. Maybe to its northern flank we could get a bit of snow, but especially on its southern and eastern flank, there's milder air, so again, it wouldn't be too cold. But it does start to pull in a bit of a northerly wind towards the end of the run, and it's that high pressure that builds in. And you can see that there's that cold pull to our east, and we do start to pull it in towards towards 284 hours. Next, we'll have a look at the ECMWF. So that's forecasting There's that northwesterly wind, low pressure moves in, and then heights do start to rise towards the end of the run, but polar vortex does move back in and we remain in a westerly flow. We'll have a quick look at the upper air temperatures. Very mild, and it goes cool in that northwesterly flow. And as we end the run, just zonal, mild, and colder sectors alternating. Looks like a zonal sine wave pattern. Next, we'll have a look at the GFS ensembles for London. As you can see here, very cold towards the end of this middle of this week. -7 isotherm gets into the country, which is pretty cold, and then we get a bit of a warmer spell, so a milder spell, and then it does go very uncertain. Quite a few members on the ensembles are going much cooler, some go much milder. So again, it's quite up in the air what exactly is going to happen. The dew points are remaining quite cold this week, but then generally go well above average, well above zero. We do have a few smaller snow spikes, which could be symbolic of a few snow showers coming through, but nothing too significant. Precipitation is reasonably high. There's a little bit of a break between the 11th and 13th there, but that's probably going to be quite showery, so the GFS ensembles wouldn't pick that up particularly well. If we have a look at the wind, you can see very strong tomorrow, and then it remains fairly strong for the rest of the week. Not gales, but again, remains fairly strong. I'll pause here and I'll go on to weatheroutlook.com and we'll have a look at the short range models for Storm Ciara tomorrow. See you in a minute. And welcome back. We are now looking at the wind gusts tomorrow. This is the GFS operational run, 12 o'clock run, and this is at 3 p.m. Today. So pretty strong winds coming into the north and western areas. We get a batch of pretty strong winds moving through overnight into early morning as the low starts to approach, but then the very strong winds start to pack in early on Sunday morning, and you see there widespread 70, 75 mile an hour gusts, even inland, 71 there to the north of London. And as we move through the back edge, it does look like it might get up to 75 mile an hour winds, maybe even 79 there in the channel, but remaining very blustery further north, but the biggest winds do look like it's further south. And as we end Sunday, the winds do slowly die down, but remain at a pretty strong level, even throughout Monday. Next, we'll have a look at the icon model for wind gusts. So this is much more shorter range, but more detailed model. So if we look here, 3 p.m. Saturday, it does highlight. Go back. It does highlight much strong. Hate that sort of chart thing when it does that. It does highlight some very strong winds over Northern Ireland and western parts of Scotland. And as they move in, they do weaken a little bit, but 80, 84, 85 mile an hour, maybe over islands of Scotland. And the strong winds do move further south, and we get the batch of very strong winds, 90 mile an hour winds there over northern Wales and western parts of Ireland, 86 mile an hour. As we move through, 100 mile an hour winds out in the Atlantic, and as that moves through, 100 mile an hour is reaching Scotland, and then about 70, 80 mile an hour further south, and you can see where all the mountain ranges are. That's where the peak gusts are. Look at that, 92, 93 mile an hour over the islands. Only 60, 70 maybe inland, which again is very, very strong winds. And as we move through, the winds do slowly die down, and we maybe get another batch of stronger winds as we go through the week, remaining fairly strong. We'll have a look at the arpege model. For wind gusts. Again, another short range model, so this should be fairly accurate. It goes through an hour increments, so we'll slowly go through tonight. Remains very blustery out there, and those blustery winds start to move further south and then get reinforced earlier in the morning by some very strong widespread gusts, 70, 80 mile an hour. The icon does look like it's going over the top a little bit with those 100 mile an hour winds over the Highlands of Scotland, but the arpege does bring 70, 80 mile an hour winds into Scotland, and then 80 mile an hour down in Kent, maybe 73 mile an hour in London. So it's going to be very strong winds, and potentially for some funneling, maybe can bring even stronger gusts. And as we move through in the afternoon of Sunday, the winds do start to die down a little bit, and we do just subside a little bit. Remains fairly strong over the south, maybe 40, 50 mile an hour gusts. So again, that could be fairly significant. Another area of winds moving through northern France that might clip the southwest, maybe southern parts of England for the early hours of Monday with some more strong winds. It does look like we're going to be getting some significant winds over the next few days. Are there any other charts I'd like to look at? Is there does that have wind speed? There we go, wind speed. So I think this is general wind speed, not wind gusts. So we'll have a look at this, and as you can see, pretty strong winds, 20 mile an hour widespread, 40 starts to move throughout the country, and you can see that very strong winds start to build early on Sunday. And this is the sustained wind, so 30, 40 mile an hour winds, 50, maybe even 60, that's tropical storm sort of level, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, sustained winds, 40 in London maybe, 50 out in the North Sea, and you can see where the centre of the low is up there. And we get some very, very strong sustained winds, and then the back. And this is something we saw on the icon as well. So this might be an area where the Met Office might be able to upgrade to an amber warning over the Highlands. It does look like the ice bars are gonna squeeze together over northern Scotland, just as they have in southern England, and it's gonna give potentially some very strong winds. And you saw those 100 mile an hour gusts on the icon model. Here, she's showing sustained about 40, 50 mile an hour winds. It is southeast Kent, which is looking like it's going to probably get the most severe wind gusts. So I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if we maybe get 100 mile an hour, 90 mile an hour wind gust in southeast Kent. But as we end the model, the winds do die down, especially further inland, and it remains blustery in the coasts, and we remain in this very strong west to northwesterly sort of flow as we finish the run on midday Monday. Again, it does look very severe for tomorrow, so everyone stay indoors. Try not to go out anywhere because it will be blowing around. There will be branches around. Potential for outside equipment to be moving around. So if you have got anything outside that could potentially be blown over, do take it inside. But anyway, I hope you'll mind yourselves tomorrow. Listen to the Met Office if they upgrade or change any warnings for tomorrow, and keep on top of the weather update. So make sure you go watch the Met Office forecast, only 2 minutes long forecast, which will give you their take on the event tomorrow. As you must know, they are the most accurate forecaster out there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you again tomorrow for another video, and hopefully I'll be looking at the potential for some snow next week. Alright, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed.